then Robin has to run up again and press buttons.
Yeah.
And start. We're going to just do a little bit of a talk, a little bit of a using this program, and a little bit of just sort of general stuff. This is just to get you an idea of what I do with the Animal Diet Formulator. It isn't the only software available out there for people to use, but the thing I like about it is that we're working on it and changing it every day, basically. I have a team that includes mathematicians and people that are going over the calculations. We're going over the ingredients from the USDA. We're going through and making sure things make sense. And then our feedback from our users, it makes it a very living document. And there's, with nutrition, as we've sort of heard, there's a lot of changes happening all the time. So it makes it great and also awkward, because we're trying to formulate and balance things, and at the same time we're coming up against problems with ingredients from, if I get my data from the USDA database, well, maybe there's something in there that's wrong, or if you get it from a database from, New Zealand or somewhere else, maybe there's things in there that are better, and it's a tricky thing, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. A lot of people are like, well, and if it's so complicated, why should we try? Because we should try, because we're better than that, because we can try, and we can keep trying. And as things get better, we will know more, and we should know as much as we can know when we're trying to keep animals healthy. They have to live in our houses. They can't make their decisions on their own. We're making decisions for them. We should do the best we can. And so in my opinion, even if you're trying to formulate a diet, you should know what's in it, and you should get the best advice you can. It's useful if you're a company. You should be having a board-certified nutritionist like Susan Wynn helping you or something. You should be having somebody help you do it. If you're making your own diets and you're only feeding that at home, don't come in and tell me, like many of my clients do. It's like, I just like to give a little chicken and I put some peas in there. I'm like, okay, we're good. And that happens a lot, right? So people come in. So I just feel like it's fine, but that's not better really than a kibble food, because it's not balanced, and that's why we get so much flack in the integrative world, where people are like, you guys are not balancing this food. And maybe some people believe in the balance over time, and I know I've seen my problems with that as well. If you know more and you want to balance over time, like your fatty acids, because you're using a ruminant and you're using poultry, and you're trying and you're using things, you can certainly do that. But if you're just sort of randomly saying, I'm balancing over time by just changing everything all the time, well, you don't know if every time you're changing something, you're always having low selenium. Always. You don't know. You can't tell me. So those are the things that are relevant to me. This is just sort of an example of a moderate diet that I've done, and there's ingredients in there from the Animal Diet Formulator. I was going to go with the, thanks. I was going to go with the slide, couple of slides just to annoy you and bother you a little bit. Can I just change and do this?
Yeah, you can.
Well, I can sort of do it.
It is technically working.
Technically working. Shh, he's very smart. He's going to figure it out. You can do it. Yes. Okay, so that's, yeah. I can do whatever you want me to do. Okay, so, and I am not in any way a board-certified nutritionist. I started doing this 30 years ago, before there were a lot of board-certified nutritionists that I could even talk to. And I started talking about nutrition and thinking about nutrition with my clients, and then it just became something that I really was interested in. But I do spend a lot of my time trying to read and keep up, and so I can lecture and talk about it, but I will tell you, if you want more information, then you should probably be listening to people like Susan Winmore and a lot of the people that are out there, if you really want to delve into the nutrition. I'm more the practical, this is what I do in my practice, and that works for me. And I get information where I can. I have a staff that helps me make sure I'm getting the best information I can. So at the Animal Diet Formulator, we have sort of online, if you have this software yourself, you'll get this sort of starting tips idea, which tells you if you're having tips for adding ingredients for a dog, then you can sort of start thinking about it this way. A lot of people are just confused, like, I don't even know where to start. Like, what do I do? It's like, okay, put a couple of pounds of meat in your recipe. Start there. choose a good quality meat, do that kind of thing. And then you sort of might want to be adding fruits and vegetables. Maybe you're trying not to. But you can go through and find out in this little tip, or we have one for cats as well. Which is just a little bit different because, by the way, they're different animal. So they are different. And it's nice to have some place to start. It's not going to work for every animal, and this is not a recipe, right? So, but it just helps you maybe understand what's coming. And so then you can feel a little more confident about the whole. The nutritional overview that I sort of go by for dogs and cats is sort of this broad spectrum idea here. And it usually involves a really cute red panda eating something. So then you don't have to look at the boxes if you don't want to. But there's, the amounts of protein. Obviously, I'm talking well-sourced and all of those things because it matters, right? We said that. The fats, not just fat. So everyone just says fat as fat, which, look, I just did it. See, right there. I wrote fat, and that was all I wrote. What I should have is a balanced fatty acid profile. There should be an appropriate amount. Now, in the animal diet formulator, it will tell you how much of each of the different types of fats that we know about and what they are, and then even the omega-6 3 ratio, that'll be in there so that you can help yourself understand, are your fats balanced? Not just that you have fat in it, and it's all, butter, which I would love because I'm a little bit French. The carbohydrates can vary based on what you need, and then fiber, as we talked about, that can be from fresh food, animal or vegetable sources and supplements. If you grind feathers in your home, more power to you, but I don't. And then amino acid balance, and again, fatty acid I did mention later because I wasn't that stupid. And then we want to do the quality sourcing, right? So, okay, little guy, you're done. This is actually Sean working some draft horses, right, Sean? That's fun. I put that in because it's just a different species, right? So my son is a different species, and the horses are. So you should know what you're working with so that you get the right nutrients for that particular species. This isn't going to be one size fits all for everyone in your family. A lot of people like to feed the same thing to their dogs and cats. And I get that because it would be so easy, but you really shouldn't probably do that. Unless you know for sure that it's balanced for everybody. My dogs don't always do well in the cat food, and definitely not vice versa. So, and sometimes it seems daunting because there are all these different things we have to know, but it can help if you have something that's a good software program, and it can also help if you understand what you're looking at. So you want to know macronutrients. Everyone knows the basic macronutrients now, right? It's just basically protein, fat, carbohydrates are the big ones. Moisture is also considered in there from my standpoint. And then you want the micronutrients, which are vitamins, minerals, and then for me, it's amino acids and the fatty acids in there, and then we talk about fibers. So that's sort of the overview of it. And then this is sort of a list I made just to get it all out of my head. So it's pretty, it seems, it's all on one page. Let's put it that way. So that's helpful. So it's not that daunting. And this list, what am I doing wrong? Oh, phew. Okay, panicking. No, it's okay. Smart man. Okay, the list is just to help you have an understanding of at least what I make sure that I've ticked off all of these boxes to some degree. I've looked at these things. I've seen what it is I'm putting in, and I know that I've covered them. And I may not know a lot about all of these ingredients, these nutrients, but I do know that they're something that we should be considering, and I feel like the data is coming in more and more about even more things that we don't know about. The dark matter that I put at the bottom of the list means there's going to be more, right? So as we know, there's lots we don't know, but let's do the best we can with what we have, because we all have to live on the planet. But at least this gives you at least a beginning idea of what that is. So then it's not so daunting, because you've got it right there. Are you going to move along? Now it doesn't want to move, Robin. It hates me. I'm giving him exercise. What have I done? I have to do that? I can do that. Yeah. Okay. There are things, and I know Susan was talking about, there's different things that happen when you cook. There are some nutrients that actually improve in their absorption when you cook them, and there are some that you lose when you cook them, and we know that it's a more nuanced thing than just like, don't cook everything. So for me, always cook mushrooms. Eggs, they do say that the protein absorption is increased if you cook the white. They say the nutrients in the yolk are better when they're not cooked. These are all ongoing pieces of information. And again, processing for sure. If it comes from our farm, it's going to be delicious. So we want to make sure that that's okay. There's things that are out there, again, if you are sourcing chickpeas, I would very much advise you to make sure that they're organic, or where you live you don't have glyphosate allowed, because the way that most people harvest chickpeas is to spray the entire field with glyphosate, let everything die, and then pick up the chickpeas. And then they just sell them. So that the chickpea glyphosate levels tend to be really, really high. I don't usually use them in my recipes, but it's good to know, particularly if you eat hummus. Eggs, vitamin D is higher in chickens that have seen the sun, right? And some people don't realize they can actually vary how much vitamin D is going to be in an egg, but it will matter where it's from. So if you don't know those things, you're going to sort of be in trouble. The tomatoes, the lycopene availability is going to be increased when you cook, but it'll also break down the cell wall, so your vitamin C is going to be reduced. It's like, what do I do? Like, do whatever you want. It's fine, but just know that. So the brassicas, they say if you chop them and leave them on the counter, then you'll be increasing the phytochemicals that are anti-aging, sulforaphanes and things. So that's also a possibility. So I tend to also talk to people when they're making recipes to really think about having food that they can feed in one meal once a day. That is really, when I was growing up, everybody fed once a day to their dogs, and now we don't, and a lot of it has to do with the pet food industry putting on the bags, feed twice a day, and then we buy more food. And some of it has to do with certain animal preferences and things. So, we're allowed to wiggle on that. But I do feel like being empty more time is going to give them more metabolic cleanup time. And again, we don't need to slow them down. So that's that. That guy's licking that forever. And remember, a good diet cannot cure all ills, but a bad diet will always cause problems. And that's just true. So there you go. Oh, you're going to eat? I love it when they eat. Isn't it fun to watch animals when they eat? Makes you so happy. Go ahead, eat that. Go ahead, grab one. And you did it. Okay. All right. I do have this. I don't think we really need to go through, but I made sort of a chart for the veterinarians that I work with of some general things to think about for different conditions. This will be in your notes if you want to have it. I think I'm going to fly through that because it's a little too much for me. It's probably too much for you too. And you did already hear the use it or lose it about bones, so thank you. That was lovely, Mita. And then cats. Can cats eat once a day? For a long time, yes. I've really believed that they can, and now I'm sort of in the back like, yeah, maybe, yeah, sometimes they don't. So maybe it is twice a day, maybe it's once a day. My cat used to eat once a day. He actually ate weirdly because he would eat a frozen block of raw food like ice cream. If I thawed it, he would never eat it. And I thought I couldn't get him onto raw food, but I served it by mistake once, just frozen, had it out on the counter, he ate it. So that happens. And then there's lots of ways to find out like which foods are rich in magnesium. I mean, there's all kinds of AI and stuff out there, but if you want to know how much to do and whatever, then maybe you're using a diet formulation software because it's better if we know. Nothing will be perfect, but you don't want to be imbalanced if you're constantly, chronically doing the wrong thing. And nutrition is the most important health decision we make for our pets. And it really is, right? It's the biggest stroke we can make. So it's not a bad idea to try to understand what is in the bowl. So we're just going to do this because everything got a little bollocksed. Doesn't really matter. It's just the New Yorker. A lot of people ask me why is food so expensive. I will say the freeze-dried foods and some of the cooked foods are so expensive, and the fresh, frozen, raw foods are actually less expensive than them, and they seem to be a better deal these days, and you're getting, obviously, also the benefit of fewer vet bills. But for me, I change the message around. I say, well, cost, well, how can it be so inexpensive? How can you tell me that you can feed your 2 Great Danes for $30 a month? Or whatever it is, maybe it's, $100. But the fact is, you're having animals that have to be bred, born, managed, slaughtered, processed, packaged, stored. Ingredients have to be processed. The recipe has to be formulated and balanced. The product has to be mixed, processed, stored. Retailer adds in a little cost of their own, and the pet owner buys the product. How can it be so cheap? Somebody somewhere is either cheating, adding stuff, not paying their employees well, using bad ingredients, or something. But to me, it can't be that inexpensive unless they're getting, or maybe subsidized by the government. Something. And that's not right. So, All right, as far as the data that comes into these formulators and things like that, most of it comes from very similar places. If you're educated in it and you have people on staff that can look at things like that and pay attention, some of it you can fix or look at or say, this doesn't make sense because this can of oyster says it's got this much zinc, and this can of oyster, which came from the same place, says it's got like 100 times that. How can that be true? You have to sort of work those things out. There are a lot of pluses and minuses in the data, but that doesn't mean, again, that we shouldn't do it. It just recognize there's going to be a little wiggle room. So you always want to be looking to make sure for certain ingredients, you are meeting the minimums, maybe plus a little buffer. And you also don't want to go too high, which there aren't a lot of maximums in our, in any of the AFCO or NRC. There's not a lot of maximums. So there's some trouble there, and we should pay attention to that. Like copper, we should have maximum, which I think we do, but. So vitamin D3, that was we said about the eggs, and okay, so I think, and I just had one more quick story about salt in camels. I used to do acupuncture on camels all the time because they got a lot of arthritis in captivity, and everybody just, I got calls from all over the world. I was the camel acupuncture specialist because I was the only one who would do it because they try to kill you half the time. But I did, and it helped. It made a big difference, and we really felt very good about it. The keepers would be like, I didn't believe in this at all, and now she's running around. It's great. And the acupuncture was actually helpful, but what was more important was that I did some research before Google in their old libraries with the dust and the books, and found that camels need a ton of salt to avoid arthritis. It was like a little reference in a nutrition book, and I was like, I wonder if they're getting enough salt. And it was just one of those things, and I looked at it, and they said, no, we put a salt lick out for them. They're fine. Like, they actually expected something like a magnitude of at least a decimal point more of salt to not get arthritis. And so they needed it in their salty browse, which they would have been eating where they lived. And they don't know to go and lick a salt lick. So they didn't, and they changed the foods, and then I don't really have a job acupuncturing camels anymore, which is sort of a bummer. I should have kept that to myself. Anyway, so we're just going to make this better, and we'll use the ADF now. So if I do that, Robin, I just did that. I went backwards here. Oh, and if music be the food of love, shut up. A lot of people say that to me. Let me see if I had anything really important here. Probably not. No, that was it. That's just me laughing. Anna, when we're done, did you want us to do, I just thought, the song later? Later? Oh, I'm going to do this, yes. Yeah.
So now it's showing there.
That's you, Sean.
I can end the presentation as well.
And that. Okay. All right, how much time do I have? I can talk really fast. Okay, so I'm going to do just show and tell on what happened.
Okay, there we go.
It was a good question. Okay. My computer's mad. Yeah, it is.
Okay, good. Now it's...
Okay, so it's up there. I'll play here. Okay, I'm going to play here.
And 1 second. Now the people in Zoom. Okay, and now...
Everybody can see?
And I'll just hide.
Yeah. Okay, we dancing. This is it. All right, so with most software, you are choosing your own ingredients, putting them in, and then you're going to get information about... I have to move this somehow. How do I do that? I'm sorry, that thing? Thank you. And up there. Perfect. So you'll get information. This program can let you choose raw ingredients, and then you can press the cooking button, and it will tell you what we know about what's lost or gained with cooking. So if you want to do a cooked food, you can do that. You can also choose cooked ingredients and use them and don't cook the rest of it. So if you do want to cook your barley or something like that, then you want to do that, but you want the rest to be raw, you can do it that way. It will resize, and it will help you if you're having an ingredient that's not met. It will help you. So if I look at this right now, this is the if I start with the macros on this diet that I already made, it's going to take too long to make a diet, so I'm just here. This one says that I'm doing a diet that gives me 32% per kilocal in protein and 63% in fat. So this would be more of a ketogenic diet. The keto ratio on this is 0.74, which is pretty high, which means I'm probably thinking about feeding this maybe to an epileptic or something, and maybe in here what I should do is have MCT oil or something like that. But I just literally randomly pulled this up because my computer was not behaving. So you just get a diet that I have in here for something. I'm not sure I ever really even use this, so whatever. But if you can see, the macronutrients just give you the information. So the ketogenic part of it here, if you can see where my little cursor is moving, it will give you a ketogenic ratio. Ketogenic ratios on most raw foods are somewhere around 0.5. So, and that's about right. That gives us some nice ketone ratio things. And at the same time, it's not too much fat. This one has a lot of fat, so it would probably be a little much for an animal just to start on this one. It gives you a lot of other information, how much to feed per day, if you're talking about the animal that I put in here, how much that dog weighed, etc. So we said it was a 50-pound dog. And so it tells me, how much to feed per day, that kind of thing. And then it also gives me all the basic, I'm going to take this, I'm stripping, the basic ratios of the macronutrients. And then you've got the minerals, which were on my little white list earlier. So all of the different minerals and whether or not they're balanced. So I can toggle things on and off. If I just don't put any of the meat in here, suddenly I'm going to have something that comes up in red. And if I, get rid of eggs, then I'm going to have other problems. The calcium phosphorus ratio is going to be off, and so I will want to increase and add things to it. What's interesting to me is if I find, for example, let's say I did, so I just did this amount of the cod liver oil that I've added in, and then it suddenly says, ooh, my vitamin E is low. So I click over here, and it says, look, in your recipe, you've already got cod liver oil. You can use that to balance that vitamin E if you'd like to. And I click on that, and it says, okay, look, we balanced it for you. So it says I really only need, 6.5 grams or so. So I can do that to balance things in the recipe based on whatever ingredients are not there. And then I've got, the fats and the amino acids are all listed, and whether or not they're meeting the minimums or maximums is all in here. So you're adding ingredients. If I want to add ingredients, I'm just going to put them in. I'm just going to say, oh, I'm going to add some chicken to this diet. Well, there's a lot of different chickens to choose from. In this formulator, there's a typical one where we've just chosen a whole bunch of chicken and sort of done a lot of math on it to try to figure out what's going to be the range so that you make sure you always have this certain amount, and that you can add that type of chicken, or so it doesn't have to be the exact chicken you're getting, but you can use that and say it's a typical one. That'll probably cover us. And so that can help you if you're formulating. And then you can look at where the levels land. So if you say spinach, there's different types of spinach. Some of it's going to be the typical, some of it's going to be dehydrated, flakes, cooked, so you can do it. It doesn't have to be the brand that you use. It just gives you an idea. Yeah. Yes, you can add any ingredient you want into the database that's just yours. So you can say, oh, I always have this mix that I buy that's a mix of spinach and something else, and it's so cool, and I'm going to add it in here. If you have the nutritional data, you put it in once, it's in your program, and you can choose that all the time. We even have foods in here. So we'll actually have an actual pet food that's already ready, and people want to supplement their pet food to change it or make things better or do a therapeutic thing with a pet food that's already made as a base. And you can do that as well. So, all right. I think that's, I don't know how to go any more into it except to say that that's the basics of it, because otherwise it's just too complicated. If you are going to, you can create reports with your own logo if you wanted to do it, and it'll tell you all the ingredients and what to do. So this one that would be the little background logo as a watermark, you can do all of that. And then you can say, okay, I'm going to save that. And then you could print out whatever report with your name, etc. on it. Let's see. So then it shows you in a little, yeah, it's not going to work here. Yeah, a lot of it's not really working in the translation, so I apologize. Okay. Before I leave this stage, I wanted to drink some water and ask my son to come up here for a sec. Is that all right? Do that. didn't really tell him I was going to do this. Sorry, Sean.
Yes.
Yeah. No, so we sing, some of you have heard us sing a song. We sing a song to people that are, it's from basically a village in Africa. It's in Swahili, they said, with a little Zulu in it. People that were, that we gave it to. I think that's just on here. It's, okay, we can do that. That's fine. Just keep it away from your mouth, otherwise it's going to be so loud. But it's, anyway, I just like it when we have a group together and we've all been sort of trying to do this thing together. And it's basically to the village saying, when you're going off on your own without us, then you still have us with you, and we love you, and you're going to go off and do something important, and we're behind you when you're doing this, okay? So in my family, we sing this at every important event when we all get together. There's 7 children in my family, so there's a lot of those kind of wild get-togethers. But anyway, all right. You'd probably want, yeah. Hambanam recitando sia bona basali. Hambanam recitando sia bona basali. Si pequen zimkulu Asherah wasantaba si pequen zimkulu Asherah wasantaba vayabu amane asine nimokayali vayabu amane asine nimokaya hambana recitando sia bona basali hambana recitando sia bona basali asia bona basali asia bona basali